We all know that jungle is the big brain role in League of Legends. With great power comes great responsibility, which is most likely why we are flamed the most.
But I'm absolutely not putting on the chat.
Ultimately, based on the information on the map, the decisions that you make highly dictate the outcome of the game. What's up everyone? Welcome back to Jungle Gap. If you don't know who I am, my name is Coach Leo. I am an ex-pro player, multi-season challenger jungler, and currently coaching full-time. And in this video, you're going to have the chance to test if your knowledge and decision-making is on par with a challenger jungler. But don't worry, seeing if you get the answers correct is just half the fun. The other half will be me explaining exactly why these choices are made and what impact that they have. Ultimately, from this video, you will learn challenger level concepts that will allow you to dominate in your own games. So let's get into it. As we jump into game now, we are going to be following the red side Nidalee for this quiz. This is a master, grandmaster, challenger ranked game. And what I really want you guys to be aware of is that when you're trying to guess or when you're trying to answer the questions, the most important thing I want you guys to look at is the information. Hence why I've made this minimap so large for this is because I really want you guys to pay attention to the minimap. I might even zoom out, like this at some point, because this is how I really want you guys to learn to see the game, learn to see the entire map, not just what's on your screen. So as you just saw, some stuff was happening here. Take note of the draft, take note of what you think the important lanes are, take note of these bits of information because it's going to be very, very important to the very first decision that's about to come up. If you are noticing what's happening on the minimap, it could give some hints as to what kind of decision that you're going to need to make. So as we can see here, the Nidalee is going to be starting out the red buff, and the very, very first question is about to come in 5 seconds. And so here comes the very first question. 130. After taking red, do you A, go to your Krugs and then into your Raptors? Do you B, invade the enemy blue side camps? Or C, do you run to Gromp straight after red buff? This is the question. So take a moment, think about everything that's happened on the map, think about the draft, think about which option based on the information is best. If you chose option C, you would be correct. Now, let me explain the reasoning behind this. If you take a look at the draft here, right, it is Malphite versus Sion top. If the map is split, if Karthus, as you saw, there was some invading happening here. If Karthus is able to split map in this game, and if you chose the other two options, which is either, keeping the map split, it would be very, very bad for the game because the bot lane matchup is much more important than the top lane matchup. You're playing a champion like Nidalee against a champion like Karthus. And so this is very, very important to do and to make this decision, as the game could go in a very, very bad way. When you're playing these kinds of champions, you really want to sculpt the map to your favor as well. So if you answered C, congratulations. That's one out of, I'm not sure how many questions are here. So here comes the next question in 3 seconds. At 225, after taking wolves, do you clear up to our top side camp? So like this, option A. Option B, invade the enemy red side camps. Option B. Option C, invade the enemy blue side camps. Okay, take a moment, think about the information, think about the enemy jungler. If you chose option B, invade enemy red side camps, you would be correct. And so, when we have this lead as jungle, right, Karthus he's only got one camp, which is our blue, right? We also got the Gromp. And so, it is a little bit of a gamble here on which side to invade. But again, it's about that bot lane matchup. It's about the fact that, well, if Karthus just goes to the top side here, right, we're still winning the game by using our advantage, by using our level 3 here to, sculpt the game in our favor. This is favorable for us because of the bot lane matchup, because the top lane matchup doesn't really matter too much in this game. So as we see here, Nidalee is just taking the red side camps and Karthus hasn't shown up anywhere. Okay, so just keep considering the information on the map. And we will talk about the next point coming up in around 30 seconds. So we'll just keep watching the game. We see Nidalee now taking the red buff. And the next question is coming up right after taking the red buff. Okay, would you, after taking the enemy red, dive the enemy bot? A, take bot scuttle. B, or would you cross back to our Raptors? C. Take a moment, think about the information. If you chose option C, crossing back to our Raptors, you would be correct. When we think about this kind of decision here, we want to think of two main things, right? When this kind of situation happens. Having a look at the information. So we can see here that our Raptors have been warded. We can see that Karthus is on the top scuttle, right? You know, obviously you didn't see that from the minimap, but you know that your Raptors are up. So really this comes down to two things, all right? Taking Scuttle is obviously bad because when you're stronger, you always want to match the enemy. You always want to match where they are. So, you know, we talked about, you know, sculpting the game into your favor before, but this bot lane dive is a little bit too hard, right? They're both full HP. They have all their summoner spells. So this is where you just go for what I like to call a jungle gap, and you just focus on getting yourself ahead. So now we're not, you know, we're not caring about the bot lane matchup anymore because it didn't lead to anything. So now we're just crossing back to our topside camps. Okay. And as you can see here, because we do that, because we cross back to our own camps here, because we're stronger, because you always want to match when you're stronger, you want to be where the enemy jungle is when you're stronger, we can see that this is a favorable fight for us because we're level 4 with red buff to a level 3 Karthus. So the Nidalee takes a little skirmish here. We win it. And great. Malphite shows up. The next decision-making point. Oh, the Malphite also died. LeBlanc Nidalee, great combo. Nidalee is doing some Nidalee things. And so the next point is going to be after basing. So after basing, let's take a look at the map. Let's zoom out. Let's think about these decisions. Let's think about all the information on the map. Do you clear bot side camps? Option A. Do you invade enemy Raptors? Option B. Or do you gank the enemy bot lane? Option C. So consider the information, pause for a moment, think about which one makes most sense, think about the tempo, think about the junglers. If you chose option A, clear our bot side camps, you would be correct. The reason why going to his Raptors, or the enemy Karthus Raptors, is not a good idea is because they're spawning in 13 seconds. So can you realistically get to enemy Raptors before the Karthus takes them? You shouldn't think that you can. If this was a higher timer, you should. You know, we talked about matching when you're stronger. However, you can't match when you don't make it in time. Ganking the enemy bot lane is also not good. Even though this wave is bouncing, the enemy bot lane, you know, obviously you have to see things as they are. But for now, your bot lane's not even in lane yet, right? So you shouldn't look to gank right now because as you can see, the enemy bot lane pushes this wave and then that's over, right? And then they go into river. And so, you know, Nidalee actually doesn't clear the bot side camps here. But I think this was the correct play for Nidalee to actually clear the bot side camps. She also shouldn't think that she can get Scuttle either. And obviously as well, invading Raptors now, even though she's stronger, you know, people have moved, the Jace is missing. So here she should just clear her her blue side camps. And as we can see, she does that now. So clearing the camps. Let's zoom out a little bit again so we can just see this bot side of the map. And we're preparing for our next question, which is going to happen at 6 minutes. So at 6 minutes, while watching bot lane fight, do you A, run to the fight immediately? Do you B, invade enemy topside camps? Or do you C, run to our Raptors? Take a moment, take a look, have a look at the minimap. What's going on? What's the information? If you chose A, run straight to the fight, you would be correct. Now, when you are strong, when you're in these situations, especially when you're playing things such as Nidalee, you know, you really want to get involved, right? You don't want to run across the map and you know, kind of go for these camps because you're already on this side, right? Obviously, if your bot lane was losing this fight very, very hard, and you know, some people could see this as a little bit of like a gamble, you really, the main takeaway from this is that you really want to fight. You really want to get involved when you're ahead. And this almost, you know, they almost get away, you know, based on the spear landing or not. Nidalee may have gotten nothing from this play. But the main rule is when you're stronger, you know, you really want to be aware, you really want to translate your lead and how strong you are to these fights. So that's the main takeaway. And we can see here, we're still translating. We're also thinking that same thing before about the draft and about how we really want to, you know, play towards bot side. And as we can see here, Nidalee takes a base. We're prepping for our next question, which is going to be the question of what to do out of base. So here at 6:56 in game. So as you run out of base, do you A, invade Karthus topside camps here? Option B, farm our red side camps. Or option C, invade Karthus bot side camps. Which option do you take here? Based on what you're seeing, based on the minimap, take a pause, think about what we just talked about before about the tempo. If you chose option B, farm our camps, you would be correct. So same thing as before, Karthus is already on the Gromp, right? He's already clearing these two camps. If we run straight from base to here, we're not gonna make it. He's gonna clear the camps before. So matching is all about, like previously, when we crossed from here to our Raptors, we were able to fight him before he takes the Raptors. In this case, we're not gonna be able to even fight this. So, you know, even when you're ahead, it doesn't mean go, 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 force, force, force. You know, also in this timer here, you've got a lot of farm topside. So it's actually really good to just clear your topside right now. So as we can see here, Nidalee just clears the camps. Can't invade the enemy Karthus topside camps, so she just clears. So we'll speed it up, getting ready for the next decision. Keep paying attention to the map, keep paying attention to what's going on. Okay, a little extra in here. Crosses, gets the mid kill. We're getting ready for our next question at 8:13. So, you know, now we're getting active. We got a kill. Now we see some information. Keep paying attention. This is not a question yet. Next question's coming at 8:13. So at 8:13, after killing Karthus and taking his raptors, do you take enemy Krugs, option A, take dragon, option B, go back to our blue side camps, option C? If you answered option A, take enemy Krugs, you'd be correct. So when you are winning, when you're ahead, okay, don't always just default, you know, back to dragon or back to your camps. Like, you really want to abuse the fact that Karthus is dead right now. You know, take as much as you can. What we can learn from this kind of, you know, decision that the Nidalee is going to make here is that, you know, go for the max win, essentially. You know, don't just settle for dragon, especially early game. I mean, depending on what champion you're playing, obviously different identities and things like that. Nidalee is a champion that, especially if you play any kind of champion like Nidalee, you know, carry junglers, you really just want to maximize that gold and XP. And, you know, it's all about also just being in this proximity to the lane that you really want to play around and where you want to impact. You know, being on this side as much as you can will mean that you're always involved in, you know, the random things that are happening around that lane. Okay, so as we come up to our next question, which is going to be in about 10 seconds after we take the red buff, right? It's still maximizing, you know, even though Karthus had spawned here, we're still trying to maximize as much as we can get. So after taking the enemy red, do you recall, option A? Do you take dragon, option B? So still in that dragon option. Or do you cross to the top side, option C? Think about it. I'll let you guys also check the Nidalee's gold, because that might be part of the equation, right? 1559 gold. Anytime there's a recall question, I'm going to share with you guys the gold. Think about what we've talked about so far. If you chose option C, cross to the top side, again, you would be correct. So even though Nidalee has a lot of gold here, she is technically still stronger than the Karthus, right? Even with 1500 gold. And so this is where you start to learn to really push and greed and maximize, although it's not always good, right? It's not always good to cross the top side with 3k gold here. She knows that she can make it to the grubs before Karthus kills, to the Gromp before Karthus kills the Gromp, to her raptors. If she had based first, she may miss that tempo. And obviously, even the 1500 gold is not worth, you know, the amount of time it takes to base. And she, you know, Karthus might be able to take all of these things if she bases. So it's really, really important that you kind of just keep the ball moving in these situations. Picks up another kill on the Jace as she crosses. You know, this is very, very high tempo Nidalee. You know, Lee Sin, these kinds of junglers, Kindred, this is very much so good. But honestly, if you play Diana, if you play Lilia, you can do the same things. Even the full clear junglers, you can do the same things. So coming up to our next question here. So as we let this play out, as you can see, matching when you're ahead, even if you have 1500 gold, is very, very good. And, you know, a lot of this game is, you know, the teammates are moving, right? This is high elo. You have to adapt to what your team is doing as well, right? Like, if your team is not moving, if you're not getting help, then you can just say, oh, well, I can't match because they have more people. So I'm just going to go and farm my camps here or something like that, you know, minimize that play. And so as we kind of fast forward it here, you know, she's making some plays here now. Team's reacting, whatever. Cool. This play is all about the fact that we cross. Remember, this play is just all about the fact that we cross and that we're strong and that this is how we make really, really impactful plays and how it feels like you're just suffocating the enemy. Okay, so as we see the Nidalee taking the last scrub here, this is going to come to our next question. And so pausing here before we take this last scrub, we have our next set of questions. After taking the last scrub, do you A, recall and run to the bot side? Do you B, take your top side camps? Or do you C, cross again into the bot side? Now I'll give you guys some more information again here. I'm going to let you guys check the Nidalee's gold. Quite a lot of gold. Right? Think about everything we've talked about so far. Think about all the information on the map and everything that's given to you to make this decision. If you chose option A, you would be correct. So, you know, unlike before, right, where we crossed straight away, even though we had a lot of gold, in this case, do you think that you'll be able to make it to these raptors and Krugs Or do you think you can 100% steal them off of the Karthus? Think about things like your LeBlanc basing. Think about things like, your Renata being topside. Think about the numbers. It's not really realistic, especially when you have 2.8k, to keep matching. Eventually, you will need to have somewhat of a downtime and a time to just base and spend your gold. So this is a really, really good time to do that. And as you can see, the Nidalee do it here. Okay, so we now see Nidalee basing, running to the bot side. And we'll just let's play out until the next question, which will be at 12:20. Keep thinking about the information here. Jace dies. We see Nidalee walking around here. Again, we're matching fights. Anytime there's a fight, right, we just want to match it straight away. We're really, really strong now. This is how you really translate your lead. Okay, so remember to make sure, even though we ran to the bot side here, make sure your eyes are open and you're watching what's this Jace doing, what's happening bot side. Remember that you really want to suffocate the game when you're ahead. You really want to impact, you want to be aware of what's going on around you so you can influence it. And so you can, it's all about impacting the game. I've said this 100 times. It's all about influencing the game and sculpting the game to how you want it. So we keep watching here. So now we finally see the Nidalee do Drake. Remember, this is only after she checks all the red side camps to see if they're down. Right now we do the dragon. We see a TP coming in here. I know you can't see it right here, but we see Malphite TPing in. Okay, and so the next question is going to be coming up in around 2 seconds. So at 12:20, after Malphite TPs, do you A, fight for dragon, B, get out instantly, just run away, or do you C, play slow but don't hard commit? If you chose option C, play slow but don't hard commit, you'd be correct. So in this situation, when the Malphite TPs and the Sion is not TPing, anytime this happens, fundamentally, you need to think, okay, well, they have more numbers now. So that thing about matching when you are stronger no longer applies because they have more numbers, which means if we match their numbers, so even when the Nidalee is 11-0 here, right, the game is completely winning. As we watch it play out here, you will see that Nidalee does not overplay this. She's playing to get up because Malphite is here. She's backpinging everyone. And even though she's 11-0, guess what? She gives up this fight. And so this is something that's very, very important to do even when you're super far ahead. Also knowing when it's a bad fight, when it's not, when you shouldn't match, when you should just give something. Okay. So Nidalee here, she's just minimizing. She's just going to take her blue side camps. She's not even going to try and go back to the Drake here. She's just going to have some downtime and farm some camps. So as we see, the Nidalee just farming here, farming. The next question is going to be, after we take these raptors, do you, option A, clear red, clear Krugs, option A. Option B, base for items. Or option C, invade the enemy topside camps. Think about the information. If you chose option C, you would be correct. Taking a look at the map here, right? So now we have teammates respawning. So you could see here, when they were dead, Nidalee's farming her camps. And now when they're alive, we can see we have information that the topside camps are up. We see Nidalee responding again to a fight. We're invading the topside camps. We're making sure to fight here because we are stronger. And so, going to your topside camps here is not impactful. Recalling is obviously also not impactful. I should have checked. I'll let you guys see the gold though. But yes, keep going. When you're strong, look at these chances. Look at where your teammates are. Look at the positioning and keep pressuring the game. So now Nidalee goes back. She can no longer take anything else. And so when you can no longer take anything else, she just goes back to her camps now. Does she go for the blue? Yeah. So take everything, right? Take the max win you can get. Again, reacting to fights while you're on the camps. Good plays, good impact. It's very, very important, right? We talk about same thing. She's on camps, fight happens, she's reacting to them. Now we see Nidalee's crossing back to the red side because she's killed people. She's very, very strong. We see Renata basing now. And now we see the Nidalee taking a base. Next question coming up after taking our red buff. So again, consider the information on the map. Think about what's going on. So after taking the red buff here, should you, option A, full clear your camps to the bot side. Option B, run to the spawning enemy Gromp and the fight with Renata and Sion. Or option C, cross straight to the bot side and try and kill Jace with LeBlanc on the minimap here. So if you chose option B, you would be correct. you know, now we're going to start to talk a little bit about uptime and downtime in the mid game. And this is a very, very good concept to try and stick by, where you're trying to decide when you want to farm and when you want to impact. So as you can see here, right, why is Nidalee doing red buff here? The reason is because the map is not ready yet. People are still running out of base. LeBlanc is still running out of base. People are still running out of base. But as soon as people are on the map, LeBlanc is here, Aphelios is here. As soon as there is pressure in lanes, right? I know LeBlanc isn't here yet, but as soon as there's pressure like this, you don't want to just full clear your camps, right? Running to bot lane to try and kill Jace is also bad because Jace can clear the wave before you can get there, right? So this play would have been okay if you were on the bot side. But the last thing here is that you also want to be thinking about objectives. You also want to be thinking about where your numbers are. And you also want to be thinking about the fact that you have LeBlanc TP. Going to this fight here again is also about using your strength, using your lead to impact skirmishes on the map. And even though Sion dies here, we're still looking to play for the camps that are spawning. We're still looking to get control of a side of the map. We're still looking to play for the Rift Herald. Okay, so as we can see here, we run in here, we take some camps. Now we fall back. You can see a common occurrence as well when watching this Nidalee's VOD is that she's always looking to take the camps first and then fall back to the objective. As in, like, the objective is a second to the camps. So now we see Nidalee taking the Rift Herald, and we're about to come to our next question. So after you take the Rift Herald, I'm going to pause it here before Nidalee takes it. Do you A, go and farm our topside camps? Do you B, invade the enemy Gromp? Or do you C, cross to the bot scuttle? Take a look at the map, take a look at uptime, downtime. If you chose option B, you would be correct. Same thing as before. It is uptime. Look at all our team. Our team is pressuring everywhere. Going back to farm your camps here is very bad. You always want to be trying to use your team's pressure to get something because, again, the whole point of uptime is when your team is pressuring, when we're pushing all these lanes like this. If someone or if the enemy team, you know, sends numbers to try and kill your LeBlanc, gank your LeBlanc, if they send numbers to kill these guys, you want to be making sure you're pressuring something, taking camps, taking towers, right? Pressuring things on the uptime, because if you don't, LeBlanc will get ganked and the trade you'll get for it is your Krugs and Raptors, which is not very good, okay? Also, obviously, we're stronger, so we want to be maintaining, putting pressure on the enemy, even if it's towards our Sion lane. Again, our LeBlanc has TP, so always good. And as we can see, the play happens where we are pressuring when we're taking the tower. Now, after taking this tower is the next question, which you'll see here. And Nidalee doesn't do too well at. However, let's see what you guys can say here. After taking the top tower, do you option A, reset? And here is the gold of the game. Do you option B, walk safely to mid and drop the Rift Herald for the tier 2 tower? Or do you C, drop the Rift Herald for this next tower top lane? So if you chose option B, you would be correct. You know, resetting is not really good here because even though you have 1100 gold, your team is still pressuring, right? No one else needs to reset. So you just randomly resetting here when we have Rift Herald is bad because you want to keep playing on the map here. There are still things to take. There's towers to take here. So you want to definitely run the safe way to mid, drop the Rift Herald mid, potentially even do a Pulse here or a Trick 2G here and get another tower, right? You want to use this Rift. The reason why you don't want to use Rift top is because you want to break these towers first. They're worth more gold. They're safer to do. When you're closing the game out, you know, something that I've described recently is like, you want to be playing a campaign, right? You want to go this objective, then this objective, then this objective, then this objective, then Otacon, you know what I mean? You want to play like, you don't want to go straight for like, you know, the last mission, or at like 20 minutes, just go for Baron when all the tier 1 towers are still up, right? You don't want to do that, or 25 minutes, sorry. Okay, so you'll see here actually the Nidalee does not choose the correct option. And as we just quickly replay this, she does not run the safe way. You know, when you're far ahead, you know, your confidence can get a little ahead of you. And so the enemy team actually make a good play to come back here and try and kill the Nidalee. Okay, so you need to make sure, as you can see, right, your pressure doesn't equal this line yet, right? The pressure here, you're too far in the map that these guys can't even trade anything right now, right? Because you're too pushed up. And this is what happens when you try and end the game too early, or where I've seen this in coaching countless times. Trying to just go for these tier 3 towers straight away, not a good idea. Okay, so we see the Nidalee here get punished. We'll watch the fight a little bit here. It was kind of close still. However, big shutdown given over to the Jace. Really big misplay from the Nidalee. So we will now fast forward to the next question, which is in about a minute's time. And we're going to be talking again, still about uptime, downtime, and this concept that will help you guys in the mid game. So at 1740, after farming the wolves, do you Continue farming our bot side camps, option A. Option B, invade enemy bot side camps. Option C, use Rift on mid or bot towers. If you chose option A, continue farming your camps, you would be correct. In these moments in the game when your teammates are basing, when the map is not set up yet, right? The reason why, before when we were going into enemy gromp and, going into enemy jungle was good, was because we had our teammates with us. We had people pressuring side lanes. If they sent lots of numbers to stop us taking the camps, our team would get something back. In this case, this is what's called playing downtime, where you're just kind of waiting for your team to get back on the map. So since we died, since we have nothing to base for, this is a really, really good time to just farm. So we'll keep watching this replay for a bit now. Fast forward. Next point is around in around 2 minutes. So you can see here Nidalee just kind of taking it slow. Doesn't farm the blue. Probably should have. But now when the team is back, now we can actually start taking the objectives. Really, really good thing here as well. Protecting waves, as I said before. You want to just run at these guys. You want to try and protect those waves because protecting the wave is gonna allow you to take the next objective. So this idea of on the uptime protecting waves is super, super important. Which unfortunately we missed out on here, which is why this is a bit slow, but we have Rift anyway, so it's okay. And so now, we're rifting the towers, we're playing uptime now. So, before when I said, oh, should you go on Rift when your team was in base, that would be bad, right? Because you're just rifting solo, they're just gonna kill it, you're not gonna get anything. When your team is back on the map, now that you rift bot, you force numbers bot. Look at what's happening mid now in terms of your uptime, right? Because you're pressuring now with your team, when your team can pressure, if they send 4 or 5 people bot side, you're getting something mid as well. So you're drawing pressure. It's all about pressure. League is all about pressure. All right, so Malphite is mid. It's 4v4 on bot. We have the Rift Herald, so we're able to get this tower. Yeah, I know this is not going to look like your games, guys. I know that sometimes this guy, your teammate's going to be here, and this guy's going to be here, and this guy's going to be here. If your team's not ready to play, if your team is not pressuring, all you would do here instead is just farm your camps. But again, you can be an IGL, you can ping the towers, you can try and get your team on the same page. Of course, you have to adapt to your teammates no matter what. So I don't want to see any comments down below. Oh, this is just because it's a challenge game. I've played Unranked to Masters a bunch of times, and I can definitely tell you that if you are doing well in the game and you're pinging towers that, the towers that you want to play for, your team will listen, okay? They just need to kind of be, you need to shepherd the sheep kind of thing. And then you also need to adapt to people just kind of like AFK. And you just farm your camps then. And so next question is coming up at 1920. This is a very, very common error that I see in people's games. So at 1920 here, after taking the bot in here, do you, before I write this out, check the gold. Do you A, base? Do you B, keep pushing for Nexus towers? Or do you C, take enemy camps and mid tower? This is a very typical place where I see people mess up. So if you chose option C, you would be correct. So option A, basing is not too bad. However, again, it's the same thing before. It's like when the enemy are dead, right? You still want to take as much from the map as you can. So if you think you can still take mid tower, you go for mid tower. If you still think there are camps to farm, you farm the camps. Because this is a timer right now where you can do that for free because you have so much pressure, because people are dead. You want to take as much as you can. And obviously option B, to keep pushing for Nexus towers. This is where I see the biggest mistakes, especially in low elo, but even high elo as well. This is where you really need to backping your team here. It's very, very hard to end the game nowadays in League of Legends. Even if you get 1 Nexus tower, 2 Nexus towers, they're just going to spawn back, and you're going to potentially, when people respawn, you're going to die here because people's conditions are a little bit worse. You really want to make sure to backping everyone here and just kind of go consume the map's resources here, take some waves, exit, take some towers. As you can see, the Nidalee does exactly that here. And yeah, still be really greedy here, right? Keep going for all the camps here because this is still free, right? It's still free for you to take this. And now we can finally recall, which is going to be our last question here. After recalling, do you, so very last question, A, full clear top to bot? Do you B, go straight to Arakan? Or do you C, siege mid and hip? 3 options. Think about what we've talked about so far in the game. Think about uptime, downtime. If you chose option B, you would be correct. So same thing as before, as I was saying, you want to play the game, you want to close the game out like a campaign. you don't want to go straight for the last thing, which is option C, which is, you know, trying to just take the Nexus right now. You should just go for the Otacon. You should just go for the Baron. You should just go for whatever tier 2 towers are still up. Don't try and end the game too quickly. Option A is obviously not a very good option because you want to play uptime. I see this a lot as well, right? Where people don't really know when to stop full clearing. I get asked this question all the time. When do I stop full clearing? You stop full clearing, right? Basically when you'll start to think about uptime, downtime, and when there are better things to take than your top side. So while your team is like pressuring here and here, it's not very good that you're just farming camps, right? Because you could be farming their camps, because you could be protecting this wave, because you could be taking this Otacon. This is how you truly translate, you know, a big lead like this. So, you know, you can take a blue buff, you can take a sneaky camp, you can take, you know, a Raptors or a Wolves as you pounce to here and then go here. That's all good. Just as long as you are on your team's tempo line is the most important thing. So that was the last question. We'll slowly watch this game play out now. We take the Otacon, we're playing uptime still, we're taking enemy camp still. We're kind of combining all the things that we've been talking about in this replay. We're going to a fight, we're rotating there, you know, we're not pushing bot here because it already pushes because of the inhib. And we can see the Nidalee's team and Nidalee slowly close the game out. So as we watch the game kind of end, this will conclude this quiz. If you guys enjoyed this kind of video, please let me know in the comments. Leave a like, drop a sub, helps me out a lot. And I will see you guys all in the next video. Peace.